Syndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
Hey, that sounds
My
like
man.
a pretty cool band, Shep. Can you tell us a little bit about that band?
That band is called Anti-Ghost. They have 4 albums. They got a 5th album coming out soon. That's my favorite song. It's a deep song. Anyone who experiences people who have some type of uh, struggles in life should listen to that song, because my son wrote it. He writes all their songs, but he wrote it, and he wrote it while experiencing some issues with some friends who hadn't been able to handle their life situation very well. They left this earth way too early, and then it's about trying to move on. And it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep, but it's a very, very good song, and it's an excellent album. So yeah,
Anti-Ghost. Let me reiterate that. I certainly wanted to give Shep's son's band some love there.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, and he spells his name the right way. I mean, Sean spells it the way you're supposed to spell it, Sean. Not that we were influenced by Sean Baligian, but it wouldn't be a bad guy to be influenced by. How you been, man? You all right?
Yes. You know, it's funny. We were now I have to tell you about kids' situations. I don't know if I told you this story. So New Year's Eve, Lauren asked us like a week ahead of time. My then 18-year-old, she said, "Can I have a few people over?"
Nice.
Now, if Sean or your daughter, any one of your kids said, "Can I have a few people over?" What does a few people mean to you? How would you and Lisa define a few people?
Well, if I'm being literal about them, it's the few is 3. And kids, probably maybe a half dozen. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we had 30 some kids that showed up. It was
That's
cool.
what happens when you're the party house. That's what you get for being the cool dad. So don't start bitching about it.
No, I can't.
You are the cool dad.
Well, and you know what? She went all Ken Linsman on me. She did. She was a rat. She went full Ken Linsman on me, because I think at about 4:00 in the afternoon it hit her. She goes, "Okay, so are you guys ready for tonight?" And we're like, "Yeah, what do we need to be ready for?" And she was like, "You know, I'm having like 35 people over." And I go, "Oh, yeah. Whoa. You know, you said a few people.
Yeah.
Now, I told you you can't get mad. No. So we're having a few people over tonight as well." And that was the first question that I asked. I said, "How many?" You know, don't give me few. And she was like, "Probably the same amount." So yeah, we're going to have like 30 some odd 18, 19-year-old kids.
Look, but let's be honest. You love it. I want my house to be the hangout house.
100%.
Okay. Now, I don't have a pool and a butler like you do. If I had a pool and a butler like you, then obviously all my kids, this would have been the place.
For both the kids, this was kind of the hangout house. Although, Shep, I must confess to you, I am a little agitated that it's tonight. I think a lot of people, yours truly included, thought that the Stanley Cup final would be over, and that damn Edmonton team will not go away.
I am so glad that it's continuing. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I'm sure you've already done it, so I apologize if it's rehashing it. Whether Edmonton wins or loses, Connor McDavid's going to become the 5th player, I think, ever to be named the MVP of the series, even though his team loses, right? And the other 4, by the way, in case people don't know, Sean obviously knows this. He could rattle them off like this. They're all goalies: Jean-Sebastien Giguère, Ron Hextall, Roger Crozier, right? And I'm missing
Glenn
somebody. Hall. There you go, Glenn Hall, when he was with the Blues. So those are the 4 guys. Those are all goalies.
And Reg Leach in 76.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, he won in 70 because he scored 500 goals in the playoff. And
okay.
But no, to your point, yes, 100%.
Yeah, I was talking with my youngest boy last night. He is so much fun to watch. Or no, my oldest son. So much fun to watch. Sean, you would know this better than me. Maybe Sidney Crosby, but in my life, I don't know if I've seen a better skater Might it have been Mike Gardner? Might it have been Paul Coffey? Who's a better skater than Connor McDavid you've ever seen? Like his play the other night where he feeds Corey Perry in front. I swear to God, you could put a pylon near there and a pylon would get a goal or two because of what McDavid does. Who's a better skater you've ever seen than that guy, using his edges and generating speed, having that extra gear?
Bure is the closest that I can. Bure was just a different level than everybody else. You know, when he was at his Russian rocket prime, when that guy turned it, that's the only guy, honestly, Shep, that I can think of that when he just turned it on, it was, I mean, you remember Pavel. He was unbelievable. I mean,
Well,
he was
localize it for us. How about Fedorov?
Yes, phenomenal.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Absolutely. Nathan McKinnon, it's a joy watching him too. But again, I'm throwing other names. I agree with you. Connor McDavid's this. He is. He's it's incredible watching him, and it's incredible watching the Edmonton Oilers, Shep, because first of all, let me call myself. I've literally picked against them every single round. Like
Really?
every single, I thought LA would beat them. I thought everybody was sleeping on Vancouver, even with their goaltending problems. I thought everybody was sleeping on Vancouver. And then, like everybody else, Dallas was going to roll over them, right?
Right.
And it's funny because we were talking about this the other day. At what point in time do you stop talking about what the other teams aren't doing and start talking about what Edmonton is doing?
That's a good point.
Because right now, all we do is we talk about the limitations, whether it be Skinner, whether it be Darnell Nurse, who even over the last couple games, I mean, this is a historically awful playoff for the poor guy, okay? And everybody knows it. Whether it be Cece, they have all these limitations, and yet here they are, you know, with arguably the momentum, certainly favored at home tonight against the Panthers back in Edmonton. It's a great story, but it's a story where we have to stop talking about what the other teams aren't doing. Well, if Demko was there, Vancouver would have won the series. Well, you know, Dallas ran out of gas. Well, maybe Edmonton caused them to run out of gas. You know, maybe just the constant churning and what you spoke of earlier with Connor McDavid. Maybe that was the reason. You know, it's been fascinating to watch. It really is.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, the same thing you could say about the Celtics. Everybody said, well, they beat Miami without Jimmy Butler. Look at they missed this guy, and you know, Donovan Mitchell missed a couple of games, you know, when they played Cleveland. Tyrese Halliburton was hurt a little bit in Indiana. Yeah, but they still did it. So in other words, if they don't beat them, you're going to complain they couldn't even beat them without X player. But when they do beat them, you're not going to give them credit. It's ridiculous. I think we're in an age where we look for weaknesses more than we look for strengths in teams.
100%.
We try to tear them down might be a little strong, but we look for a way why a team can't win rather than why a team can. So I love the way Florida plays. I think you do too. I love Tkachuk. I love Barkov. There's a lot of guys on that team I really like, right? I thought early on, I'm thinking there's no way anyone's going to win the MVP other than, you know, the obvious, you know, when you're shutting teams out and you're playing as well as you are in goal. But that top line for Edmonton, you can see why Hyman scored 54 goals was it this year? Zach Hyman. Who would have thought Zach Hyman would be scoring these goals when he was playing in Toronto or when he was even at the University of Michigan? Draisaitl is probably the second best player in the series. You know, maybe you think it's Tkachuk, it's possible, or Barkov, who's had a little bit of a 2-game slump. But overall, I mean, those are the best players in the series, and they're on one team. It's just it's been amazing to me. It's been so much fun to watch, and selfishly, I want it to continue. I want a Game 7, but I wanted the NBA series to go a little bit further. I thought in the NBA you could clearly see that Boston was better than Dallas. That Dallas had 2 guys, and that was it. In this Stanley Cup Finals, I don't know if it's clear cut. Even when Florida was up 3-0, I'm not saying I thought Edmonton would come back, but I'm not sure it was as clear cut as the NBA Finals was.
Yeah, Shep, you know what? When the series started, I said Florida in 5, And then after game 3, I literally thought sweep. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought, well, they're going to finish it in Edmonton. And then obviously we saw what we saw. That brings up I want to ask you something. You've been around for a long time. And I think one of the funniest things happened in both the NBA and the NHL. By the way, David said big time CBC slot tonight, no doubt.
Yeah, big time. It's such a difference in the broadcast, man. I mean,
gosh.
David, you are so right. And I'm going to give my buddy Sean here a lot of credit. He and I will text once in a while, not as much as his barbecue buddies, but we'll text once in a while during the Stanley Cup Finals, and we'll bring up certain things that are happening during the broadcast. And one time I brought up something, and Sean said, "Not watching it," because I was watching it on ESPN. I flipped back and forth. He said CBC all the way.
Yeah,
and I was flipping back and forth between the two broadcasts, like CBC by far and away. I mean, it's not even close from a production value and a talent standpoint. It's not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Shep, game 4 in Dallas, game 4 in Edmonton. You had a lot of people out there saying that they purposely tanked it to win it back home. I can't. That is honestly, if we were to bring up a list of pet peeves in the world of sports, that would be at or near the top of my list. If you think for a second, there are guys throwing a game out there. Now, listen, there is a psychological difference. I get it. it. You're up 3-0. And if it starts to roll downhill, whether guys want to admit it or not, there is that gene in you that goes, okay, it's not our night. We can go win. But anybody to suggest that you are purposely trying to lose a game in the NBA flipping final or the Stanley Cup final, you're out your mind. That their DNA is not built that way, man. Shep, you've talked to as many professional athletes as anybody I know. Their DNA is not of this world. They are not mere humans.
Yeah, they're different, but think about what you'd have to do. I mean, you'd have to have a consensus in the NHL or the NBA. You brought up the NBA, so you'd have to have a consensus. Let's say they're playing rotating 8 guys. The consensus would have to be, guys, we're going to blow it tonight so we can win it tomorrow or in 2 days at home. So you're trying to get Jason Tatum, who's never won it, right? Jaylen Brown, never won it. Kristaps Porzingis, sir. I can bring whatever the 8 guys are and bring them together and say, listen, man, it's not happening here in Dallas. Let's just win at the crib in a couple of days. Knowing what could happen, an injury away, ask Boston, who 2 years ago or last year, when they lost Jason Tatum in Game 7, if they thought, they had the best chance at winning when they lost at home to Miami, who ended up going to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Too many things can happen. You're right. They're not wired that way. These guys are all, you and I are type A personalities. They are elite type A personalities. The competitiveness in cards, I don't care what it is. You and I could be playing beer pong. In the end, it's fun, but in the end, you eventually want to win. I don't care how old you are. Those guys want to win at everything they do. Okay. Yep. I golf with Gibby. I play ping pong with Gibby. We play pool. We can have fun, but he wants to win, man. I don't care who you are. When you've reached that level, you want to win. There's nothing like, I'm gonna save it for the next game. That's not the way it works, especially when you're playing for a championship.
Deny ping pong, by the way. Such an underrated game. I love it. I'm
just not good at it. I'm not good enough. I can't do the English. You know what I'm saying?
That little spin and come back to me, baby. Oh, Tammy says, good morning, Sean and Matt. Good morning to you, Tammy, as well. Let me tell you about our friends at All About Catering while we have a second. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer, graduations, wedding, bridal shower, corporate events, anything you need catering for. From 25 to 4,000 people, Rick and his staff at All About Catering will take care of you as they took care of my family. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. Listen, sometimes I love to cook, okay? But sometimes there are too many people coming over. You have to let somebody else do it. Enter Rick and the great folks at All About Catering. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. That's 586-731-1398. They will take care of you as they took care of my family. Shep, does this
you need that tonight, don't you? You need that catering
do
company
I
tonight.
need it. I need it tonight. No, you know what we're doing? It's funny you say that. My daughter, I don't know, she thinks she's like the pioneer woman or something. She wants to make like a bunch of those Hawaiian King Hawaiian like ham and Swiss sandwiches or something. So as soon as we're done with this, I'm running to the grocery store to buy like 78 packages of King Hawaiian buns and 8 pounds of ham and 15 pounds of Swiss.
Okay, can I just say one thing?
Only a few people are coming over.
You said pioneer woman. My wife almost gets jealous sometimes because we'll watch that Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And I oftentimes say, if you could have a neighbor, would you not want her as your neighbor? Just because you know they got leftovers, you know they've got some extras. You're inviting her over on a regular basis. What can I bring? Well, here's what you can bring. I noticed on your show last week you made this. Can you bring that? The food that she makes is the food you and I love.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've seen your tweets about the barbecues that you got. Looks really good. It's not like Reed Drummond, man. I mean, that's the person you definitely want coming over for a gathering of the neighbors.
She's unbelievable. I'm not even joking. Like my daughter and I watch that show obsessively. I'm serious. Some of the ideas. Now, I don't like the way she cooks her meat. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, Lad and the boys and the Cowboys, they're always taken care of. Let's be honest, Shep.
But none of them are
Cowboy
fat.
Tim can eat. Make no mistake about that.
There's no doubt about it, man. Papa had that sweet tooth too, didn't he? All right, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
We've seen what has happened recently with the Tigers, right? They've lost 5 of 6. They've lost 10 of 13, 12 games back in the division. Offense is putrid. I mean, simply awful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this a surprise to anybody?
Mm.
And the reason I say that is because a year ago, this team finished 3rd to last in OPS. Chicago and Oakland were the only teams with the worst OPS. And that's the holy grail statistic that the Tigers use now. Not batting average. To a certain extent, it's not OBP. It's not slug. It's OPS, on base plus slugging. Detroit is a team 28th last year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Look where they are this year. And what did they do in the offseason to improve that specific number?
I couldn't agree with you more. Honestly, I mean, that's just the way it was, Shep. I was one of those guys. I thought that the pitching might carry this team and at least get them to the levels that they were last year. And let's be honest, you've had a front row seat for this. By the way, can I just say this before I forget? And I'm not trying to embarrass you. Congratulations on winning about 5,000. What was it? 5,002 Emmys this past swing. Dude, you deserved every second of it. That's awesome. And I'm going to leave it at that. Shep, I'm going to go back to this. You've had a front row seat for this, and we all know the names, okay? Yeah, and you literally had a front row seat for this. We have been selling fairy tales to the fan base for a long time now. We have, whether we want to admit it or not, I don't care. And we Kristen, Bo, Daz, Jamar, Franklin, Jimenez, Lugo, Parker, Hill, Funkhauser, De La Cruz. These are all names that are etched in my brain, okay? Guys that we never saw. We never saw them. But all we heard from the brass was, wait till you see this and wait till you see that. So we've been sold these fairy tales for a long, long time. Yeah. And unfortunately, the reality is, and we learned this during Dave Dombrowski's regime, I might add, for all the names out there, for all those, cute little names, this guy can't miss, that guy can't miss. The reality is only a couple of them are going to hit. That's just the reality of it.
Including pitchers.
Yeah, and I'm not being mean, Shep. I'm speaking factually because I'm not one of those. I'm not rooting against any kid. Number one, good for them as a human being. Number two, it helps my team. But I think whether we want to admit it or not, there was a little bit of that dynamic going on heading into this year. Well, don't worry.
I'm guilty. Yeah, Sean, I'm guilty of it. I mean, I thought Now, there are certain names that I would disagree. Like you said, Parker.
Yeah.
We don't know about Parker Meadows yet.
We can't officially, same with Torque. I'm not saying they're done or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Henry
what they
Malloy.
were supposed to be. How's that?
And anybody who judges Justin Henry Malloy or Colt Keith right now is way too early on it. Okay, but you're right. I mean, we were told Franklin Perez. I remember going down to spring training first year, and all I heard was, the best of the bunch. When they were talking about Mize and Scooble and Manning, and they said the best of the bunch is that kid right there, Franklin Perez. Didn't see it, right?
Yeah.
Right. You're looking for pop in a bat. Where is it?
Yeah.
We know what this team needed, and it hasn't been addressed. Now, they don't have it in the minors. Okay, so you got to go out and you got to find it. You got to get it. Who that was, you and I can argue about that all day long. The organization can too. My point is they didn't do what many people had hoped they were going to do and address their biggest need. Now, it doesn't help that Carpenter got hurt, and it doesn't help that Torkelson regressed a little bit. Doesn't mean I'd give up on either player. I'm just saying they were part of what I think the organization thought was going to be really important and a key part to moving that OPS number forward. But they haven't done anything to help any of these young guys nurture them along, with who? Like Mark Canha's not a home run hitter. He's only hit more than 20 once in his career. Gio Urshela has only hit more than 15 once in his career. He hit 21, I think, is his career best. These guys are, at some point, you and I recognize they are who their numbers say they are. And when you've been in the league 10 years like Canha, 9 years like Urshela, that's who they are.
Yep.
And where's the improvement? So I'm not going to judge Winfield Perez or Cole. I think Cole Keith's going to be a good hitter. I'm not going to judge a lot of those guys, but it's really unfortunate that, and I bought into it too, because I thought they were going to win the division. It's really unfortunate that this team has not done, or at least given the fan base a little bit more hope with some of the off-season opportunities they had.
I want to follow up on that in a second. I want to tell you about legacy, but first, Rodney said, didn't know there was going to be a Pioneer Woman segment. I would have invited my wife. Don't even get me started on Edna May, okay? I could go off for the next 10 minutes on Edna May.
Farmhouse rules.
Listen, let's talk about our friends from Legacy. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters, like my family, have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. What Legacy does is they help listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage in place, and you add it all up, and it saves you money. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much, and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Call Joe, call Alex, call Dave. They're going to take care of you. Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Shep, it's not alarming, but Tarek Skubal came back down to earth a little bit his last couple of starts. Not alarming. I mean, in my mind, he's still one of the best pitchers in the AL, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Yep. But as you know, when a team is in a predicament like the Tigers are in, all names should be thrown out there. Okay. Yes, we have to, in my mind, a good general manager looks at everything, the potential of trading this, the potential of trading that. The one thing that has blown my mind lately, okay, Shep, we mentioned all those names, all right? You know, Daz, wait till you see Daz and Bo and all these names. When you're talking to me about flipping a known like Tarek Skubal for some kind of package of can't miss prospects,
there's no such thing.
I literally just shake my head and go, what haven't you learned? And forget the Al Avila era. It didn't exist. My magic power, it didn't exist. Go back to Dombrowski's era. I mean, how many of those guys, if you go back and look at some of Dave's deals, how many you can't trade Humberto Sanchez? What are you, nuts?
Right.
Casper Wells? You can't give up Casper Wells. Jacob Turner. Remember the Jacob Turner?
Oh, God. People wanted him. Yeah, they wanted him up right away. Yep.
Oh, my goodness gracious. And it's like, that's not to say that some of these guys aren't going to hit. But that's the situation that we're in right now. I get it. We're going to have conversations about what can you get for Tarek Skubal, for a myriad of reasons. But the idea of flipping him for some, magic fix-all prospect, Shep, it's mind-boggling to me.
Well, it surprises me too, because people haven't learned their lesson in that regard. But just because, as you've said before, just because it didn't work out in drafting a specific position player or a player from a certain university, or because it hasn't worked out when you were making a trade, doesn't mean you stop doing it. The difference with Jacob Turner was you got Miguel Cabrera in return. Okay. If you're talking about trading, I wouldn't be opposed to trading Tarek Skubal, but I wouldn't trade him for prospects, because that's exactly what they are. Now, if prospects are part of that mix, that's one thing. But if you're talking about an established major leaguer, you need somebody in the middle of your lineup. Again, this is all fantasy stuff. We don't know. I'd do it in a second. I'd do it in an absolute heartbeat, because this team is so far away. Folks, just look at some of the teams that are much better than them and what they possess. Okay. Detroit doesn't have any of it. We've said this ad nauseum. I want everyday players.
Yep.
How many everyday players does this team have? Okay. In what positions are they, if at all? Okay. And then what are their numbers associated with it? They're not there. So if you could get a big haul, or a haul of some guys who are major league players and are going to help your lineup right away, I'd trade Tarek Skubal like that.
Yep.
And I think most people would. I wanted to trade him 2 years ago before he got injured, and I was probably in the minority there. How much? I mean, this is what Scott Harris is thinking. There's no doubt about it. At what point is Tarek Skubal going to become a free agent? 2 years. How much is it going to cost? He's a Scott Boras agent. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't think anybody does. It's not going to be like $40 million. It's not going to be like that. I don't think he's going to make as much as maybe a Carlos Rodon, for example, but he's going to make a lot of money. Are you willing to spend that? And then is this organization willing to spend? Think about where this organization is right now, Sean. They spent $106 million. Okay. Cleveland can win with it. Baltimore can win with it, because Baltimore's got their young guys and they're all coming up at the same time. It reminds you of the Tigers from the late 70s and early 80s. But $106 million in this market, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Should be at least 150, 140 at the minimum. Okay.
Hey, but by the way, your former broadcast partner, Cameron Maben, was another one of those guys. Remember, 5-tool guy. You can't get rid of Cameron Maben. What are you, nuts?
Right.
You don't get rid of a talent like that.
You lose Cam, a highly thought of prospect, and you lose Jacob Turner. And you lose Rob, who was it? Rob Brantley, the catcher?
Brantley, yeah. 2012 was that one. Yeah.
Right. So, but look what you got back in return. You got Cabrera and Dontrell Willis in return. There's a huge difference. Those aren't prospects. Okay. You're giving up prospects. Prospects are Houston. Justin Verlander to Houston for Jake Rogers, Daz Cameron, who you brought up earlier, and Franklin Perez. Those are the three guys you got for Justin Verlander. A Hall of Fame pitcher. Everybody knew it. Okay. A guy who you saw firsthand was ready to compete for a Cy Young on a yearly basis. And you got those three players back. Were they high prospects for Houston? Yes. Not their highest, but they were high prospects for Houston. That's what you're looking at? That's what you want? Because they're rated high prospects. Give me a break.
Yep. No, that's and I'll tell you what, Shep, that's the way that I look at it, because even that, I mentioned Casper Wells. Tell me that Doug Fister wasn't exactly what that team needed in 2011, and they went on that run and ran away with the division. Tell me that wasn't exactly what they needed. And then, take a look at the one in 2012, Anibal Sanchez and Omar Infante. People forget Anibal Sanchez was sick for
Yeah.
about a 2-year span. 2013, he was arguably their best pitcher. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I was
great.
going to say, yeah, as good as anybody on that staff. Well, but here's what happens. I think we get burned in certain situations, and then it makes us tentative. John Smoltz, Doyle Alexander.
Yep.
If you're a Tigers fan, no matter your age, you've heard about it. So you're leery of giving up what you consider to be your best prospect, right? Even though it may win at the time. But because they didn't win a championship with him, then it was a failed trade. It wasn't a failed trade. He did exactly what you needed them to do. He went undefeated down the stretch at 10-0. He got him to win the division. The next year, he was an all-star, and that was about it. While John Smoltz became a Hall of Fame pitcher. Nobody knew that was going to happen. You're not trading Tarek Skubal, who has all the skill set of what could be a long-term Cy Young contender if he stays healthy, by the way. And he's had 2 surgeries. If he stays healthy. And then are you going to be able to spend that kind of money for just prospects?
Yep.
You need something you can plug and play to do that. If they could get that and they can get a really solid player, even if it's only 1 or 2, I'd do it in a second. Absolutely. And they're going to trade Jack Flaherty. The sad thing is that we're talking about it. The sad thing is we're talking about that instead of talking about these guys being the anchors to help this team down the stretch to win the division. Instead, Cleveland's ahead of them. Kansas City and Minnesota are all ahead of them.
Depressing. Shep, I'm going to cross a stadium off my personal list with Jack next week. I have to ask you about it when we come back. But first, I need to tell you about our friends at Wealth Advantage Group. The Handsome Brothers. You don't believe me? Look at those guys. Strikingly handsome right there. And if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group. They're located in downtown Northville, historic downtown Northville, I might add, and owned by the Handsome Brothers right there with over 20 years of industry experience, Mike Cusack and Jeff Cusack. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, you're getting ready to sell your company, maybe you're already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey because they work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with a couple of experts, and a couple of handsome experts, I might add. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or visit their website at www.thewealthadv.com. I'm sure a lot of groups of friends do this, Shep. A lot of parents do this with their kids. Maybe you've done this with your kids. It's a lot easier when they're younger. It's a little difficult when they have their own lives and jobs. But Jack and I think this is going to be number 19 for us, our 19th different ballpark. Next Sunday, we are going to Anaheim to see the Tigers take on the Angels. Looking for, I think it's going to be number 19 on the list, if I'm not
the big
mistaken.
A, huh?
Yeah. What did you think? I've heard mixed reviews on it.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just okay. It takes a lot to impress me for a ballpark. I mean, every time you go into a ballpark, for me, it's usually pretty special. But there are certain ballparks that separate themselves. The rocks out in the center with a little bit of a waterfall is fine. I don't think there's anything striking about it that makes me go, I got to come back here. But it's cool. I think it's just cool that you're going to see a different team in a different market, right? Is it something I would tell Sean, you and Jack have to go to Fenway.
Yeah.
You have to go to Wrigley. You have to go to Kansas City and Kauffman Stadium. You have to go to Pittsburgh, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, those are, to me, those are must. There are certain other ballparks like New York, I would say, yeah, for Yankee Stadium, but only because of Monument Park. The rest of the ballpark is just, There's nothing special there. I still like Camden Yards, but yeah, I mean, LA's fine. I don't think it's as good as in the West. If you're looking at just the West, I would rank Seattle, Houston above them.
I loved Dodger Stadium. There was a little Tiger Stadium flair to it, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Dodger Stadium was great.
Yeah, people forget it's the second oldest National League ballpark, to Wrigley. When you're at Dodger Stadium, you're at a baseball game.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
I
a
love
great call.
about it.
Yeah, that's a great
I mean,
call.
you
Yeah.
look out there, they do some little things right. These are the things that I've asked the Tigers over the years to do, and obviously I have no influence. But they do the little things right. So if you go in the bowels of Dodger Stadium, on one wall, they've got all the gold gloves of every Dodger who's won a gold glove. They've got all the MVP trophies. So Kirk Gibson's MVP trophy is there. They've got all the silver sluggers on another side of the wall. It gives you a place to go to reminisce or learn about Dodger history. And then they have a Dodger Hall of Fame. I think it's on the 4th floor. It's between home plate and first base, because Gibby and I did an open from there last year. And they have a certain number of guys up there in the Dodger Hall of Fame. We're Monument Park, same thing, right? Yep. Fenway, you get the pesky pole where people sign their name, and then you go out into the green monster and you can sign your name out there, which is really cool. And I've done that. What is it that Comerica does that honors its former greats? Like, besides the wall, besides the names on the wall and the numbers, what is it they do to draw you and Jack, if you didn't live here, into your ballpark and recognize Mickey Lolich, Lance Parrish, Lou Whitaker before he got his number retired, a guy like Dan Petrie, right? Players who were instrumental in the success of the franchise, but weren't good enough to be Hall of Famers. There's nowhere.
No.
And not that the Angels have that. The Giants have a little bit of that. I mean, you go to PNC Park, you should go there. That place is.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. That's one we haven't been to yet.
It's really special. Yeah. It's really, really nice. And the setting, it gets cold, but I mean, the setting is just gorgeous. But those are the little things, and the Dodger Stadium has that. They have those things that make fans walk through and go, now this is what an organization is supposed to do.
Yeah.
You've been to Lambeau, right? Take Jack to Lambeau. They do it there.
Yeah.
Even Soldier Field, which isn't great, but in the bowels of Soldier Field, you walk around there, it's special, right? You've got to have that because your organization deserves it, and the people who played there and represented you, they deserve it.
It's funny you say I loved Soldier Field before they turned it into the spaceship. Like,
me too.
Going there as a kid was special. It was. Yep. It was, with those stairs, and I thought it was a really. Yeah, I thought it was a really cool place. That's a good call because, when you walk around Comerica Park, they'll have the little poles, and I do mean little poles, that 1950s. This happened in 1958. Why isn't there more? I don't get it, especially like if you went over to where, like, for example, the carousel is or the Ferris wheel. Go over to the Ferris wheel. There's so much area over there in the Ferris wheel where you could make that the back wall. The entire back wall is an homage to the very good Tigers.
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost sinful that Bill Freehan is not recognized somewhere in the ballpark other than him catching Mickey Lolich on one of those little posters that they have that looks like you're back at Jennison Fieldhouse or Chrysler Arena. It's an old high school gymnasium celebration.
It's a little.
They moved. Remember? Was it last year or 2 years ago, Sean? They moved the fences in last year, right?
Yeah.
What would be the harm if you had a walkway out there? Because people are out there on the street, right? They're walking right there where Ford Field is, and you see the DAC. What would be the harm of carving out an area there where you could walk through, or at least pay to walk through, or maybe if you're a fan at the game, where you could walk through and recognize and see all the plaques of great Tiger players of the past? I mean, what about Mark Fidrich? How about having something out there that celebrates Mark Fidrich's one season?
Yeah.
Okay. Where he was Rookie of the Year and he took everybody. If you're Sean Baligian, you know that. Do you know that if you're Sean Baligian's grandson?
Right.
You don't.
Yeah.
And what surprises me more than anything else is that they don't get it. Why don't you understand this? So you and I can love this team as much as we do and love the teams. And we do. Look, and I've been burned by them, so it hurts me, but I still love the Tigers as a whole. I would like what's best for our fan base. Why isn't this done? You're spending money on what? Brand new seats behind home plate where you can order a Mai Tai. Who gives a crap? People want product on the field. On top of that, how about just taking care of the guys who wore the English D? Nothing.
Yeah, Shep, you know what? You stole my thunder because it's potentially more lucrative to put about this much padding on the back of a chair and call it premium seating. That's the
Right.
most important thing. It is sad because Shep, you knew this. We had tickets. Jack and I had season tickets from I think 05 to 17 when he took off for DePaul. And we haven't had a chance to go this year because he's living out west and everything. I haven't been to a game yet at Comerica Park. It's weird. It's like I got to go down there sometime because it's listen, for many, many years I was down there 40 times a year and everything.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me how that ballpark has fallen apart. And Todd and I in particular talked about it a few months ago. Just walk around and go sit in some of the seats. There are a lot of broken seats.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of broken seats. Thank God they finally moved into the 21st century by, replacing some of those old box TVs, which, by the way, a vast majority of them didn't work for many, many years, but around the concourse and around the mezzanine and everything. So as far as I'm concerned, with the upkeep, we've probably moved into the 21st century now. Maybe it's 2007, but this is a park that's not that old. That really looks and feels a hell of a lot older than it is. And
I
that's
agree.
surprising because, Shep, it's a beautiful park. Let me say it again. It's not Tiger Stadium. It'll never be Tiger Stadium. All of those things, I can separate both things. But you know what? I have a lot of great memories there. And I think it's a beautiful park. And it's sad to me that the upkeep has been so shoddy.
I agree with you. I love where it is because I was defensive against it to start because of all our experiences at Tiger Stadium, but I have grown to enjoy it and love it. And I love what downtown has with Little Caesars, which is state of the art, and Ford Field and Comerica and Fox. I love all that. Okay. I love the foot traffic. But you get another new scoreboard out there. I think it's the third one the ballpark has had, and you're still walking around a concourse that has, a fancy version of a high school poster up there to recognize your champions. Nobody does that. Like, people walk around. Sean, I remember when I was with the University of Michigan, they were redoing Chrysler Center. They sent people from their university out to different places. So they went to Fog Allen Fieldhouse with us in Kansas. They went to Duke. We went to North Carolina. They went to UCLA. They went to all these different places and tried to get a feel for what they thought would be best when they refurbished, basically rebuilt Chrysler Center. I'm not saying Comerica Park has to do that, but all these people have been in enough ballparks to recognize there's some pretty special things that they give to fans while at the same time recognizing their tradition. And they have not implemented it. And I can't figure out for the life of me why. Why is it more important? Why is it more important to have another scoreboard out there instead of the other things? And I think the other things would cost less.
I think you have to keep your priorities in order. You get another tiger with a baseball in his mouth with the green eyes. I think you could fit maybe 5 more around the park, and then he gets mad and the eyes light up and, it scares opponents in their face.
Well, so blow smoke out of the nose when you win. I mean, that's key, man.
We need those priorities, man. We do. Listen, before we get out of here, who do you like tonight? Who do you like in the series?
Well, I think you and I said this a few weeks back. If you were to have one team come back from 3-0, would it be Edmonton or Boston, or would it be Dallas? And you and I both said Edmonton. I would love to say Edmonton. I still think Florida's going to win the series.
Me too.
I'll take Edmonton tonight. I'm not a huge believer in momentum, Sean, but I do believe that Florida is having a hard time figuring out how to stop Connor McDavid. And that top line, if Florida can stay out of the box, this is so obvious. If they can stay out of the box, then I'll give them a better chance. But damn, the Oilers offense, just electric. I'll take the Oilers tonight and Florida winning Game 7. How about you?
You know what? I'm going to take Florida tonight, but it's funny.
Well, that's because you're a hater. I mean,
I am a hater. I no, I picked against them. I hate the Oil. I mean, I documented years, but no, you know what's funny? Shepard, if you remember in 2011, Detroit got down 0-3 to San Jose. And it was the Sharks, who have a history of gagging, and who can forget Johnny Nabokov, who, every April he turned into the, it's like Cinderella. He turned into a pumpkin, It was like, oh, it's April. I guess I'm not a good goalie anymore. But and Johnny Nabokov and the Sharks blew that lead to the Wings, and everybody and their brother thought, well, the Wings are going to finish this series.
Right.
And then Johnny Nabokov in Game 7 was huge. I mean, that's the game of hockey. Who would have figured it? And that's what's funny, because I heard so many people, well, if they force a Game 7, Edmonton all the way. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Sorry.
That's why I say about the momentum. People are like, oh, look at the momentum Edmonton had. Florida had the momentum earlier.
Yeah.
They're 3-0. So I'm not sure I necessarily buy that, but I love the way Edmonton's playing. And I guess selfishly, because I want a Game 7, because you and I both know there's nothing like it. We've covered it. We've been there. I'll take Edmonton tonight.
I would love to be doing that Monday night. No joke. I would love nothing more than to be doing that Monday night. And Shep, you can come over. I'll have a big barbecue for a
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man. It's great to see you.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Right,
and
you too.
Make sure you check out Anti-Ghost if you have not yet. Fantastic music. Todd Blake, thank you. And to you
Todd,
guys,
thanks
for watching. God bless you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.
All right. See you guys.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matcherzak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.